Roopashree Shanker. Roopashree is the GM, Circle HR BP at Vodafone UP West. She's worked across geographies in India, a very key understanding and appreciation of different market realities and really diversity in teams. I had the good fortune of partnering and working with Roopashree and her team, and just her strong focus on business, on the results, and really being able to design journeys and look at important aspects that make a difference, I think really stands out. Her forte lies in designing creative solutions, developing people capabilities, building supercharged teams, and I think she as an individual also just brings in so much of energy to a conversation, to an interaction. She's passionate about traveling, reading, and writing poetry. What are really the people priorities and the challenges, number one, that's unique to this industry, and therefore the people priorities that you need to focus on?
Okay. So one of the biggest ones I would say is, which is a differentiator and a challenge, is that we spoke earlier about how we have a zone branch structure, right? Now, for us, a zone, so somebody heading the zone really has to come with a P&L management experience. The person is responsible for managing 360-degree business operations. So it's not just sales and distribution that you handle, but you also have to handle your customer service, your collections, understanding of technology, leading a large team, right? So attracting talent, which comes with this complex skill set, is one challenge that I would say, which is there. The other thing that I spoke about of how we are, there's a lot of evolution which is happening, whether it's in terms of technology or in terms of new product lines and business lines, which is there, right? So there's a constant new skill set which is required. So attracting, again, diverse skill sets in the industry is something which is a challenge. Also, when I say diverse, as an organization, we strongly believe in having a diverse workforce. So people coming from different backgrounds, different experiences, gender diversity, because we believe strongly that all of it adds tremendous value to an organization. And it really is a business priority, because it significantly impacts the quality of decision-making, problem-solving, creativity, because people come in with a lot of different perspective, right? So again, attracting that diverse skill set to cater to the evolving business needs and the diversity that we're looking at. One more thing that I would say is, again, when I spoke about gender diversity. So attracting women talent when it comes to, say, technology as a domain, or when it comes to sales as a domain, because typically you do not have too many women still taking up these opportunities which are there. Also, from a perspective of a state or an operation like UP West, again, which the geographically widespread, getting talent at the locations where we operate, that is also something which is unique, which would be, I would say is a challenge. So when you keep all this in mind and you look at, what are the business or people priorities that we have, and keeping the context of our conversation, which we said is that development journeys to nurture talent and diversity. So the top ones that I would say is, the first one is about building an inclusive and a diverse workplace. So when I say diverse, of course, I explain that we do talk about different experiences, backgrounds, industry experience, right? Gender diversity, etc., which is there. Inclusivity is all about ensuring that everyone feels valued and respected and can operate at their best when they're working with us. So that is one of our biggest priorities in this area. The second one I would say is that, how do you raise the bar on talent? Which is all about rigor in the entire performance potential assessment, which happens, getting people to own their careers, right? So that aspect is there. The third aspect I would say is that how do you manage careers effectively? So ensuring that there are opportunities for growth for individuals based on their merit, ensuring that we have a deep succession pipeline for critical roles which are there. When you're looking at succession pipeline, also having that element of diversity in that, because it's also about ensuring that people from different backgrounds have the opportunity to move up and take on larger roles, right? And hence investment in building capabilities is also a key aspect that we focus on. So one would be that, when we look at these three key areas, talent acquisition becomes extremely important, because you have to attract diverse talent, people with different skill sets. You have to also attract women talent in the organization. Early careers, which is getting people, who are freshers, MBAs, or maybe the local executive training programs that we run for, say, sales, technology, etc. Getting people at that level and then grooming that talent, becomes a key driver for us. So those are the things that we then focus on. Also, how do you offer a differentiated onboarding experience to people? So when we speak about diversity, when you're getting somebody who doesn't come from a telecom experience, right? How do we ensure that the onboarding and the induction is superior so that it can help that person, quickly catch up with what are the expectations and understanding of the industry, right? Also, when you talk about getting or attracting women, then there are certain unique challenges that you also face. So how do you ensure that you bridge that gap so that that onboarding is a pleasant experience for them, and they can, feel again that it's the right environment for them to give their best. Those are some of the aspects that we then really have to look at and focus on.
I was thinking about the conversation that you had with us earlier, where you were sharing that when women employees come on board, to kind of also let their families feel comfortable and see the opportunity that is in store for them, because and that is something that's a little important, of course, for UP West also. And I thought that was an interesting point. And also the bit that you mentioned, that because talent is so important in terms of the skill sets, therefore the whole bit of building internal capability and the whole bit on building talent within, I really see becomes an important priority. The learning journey that you thought about, that you spoke about, that we spoke about, which was Ascent. How did that thought come about? Or what were the aspects really, and how was it really fitting in with business needs? Is really one question to kind of open up to say, what was the need for Ascent, and give us like an overview of what the journey was meant to be like.
Okay, sure. So, one of the things that I said that we focus on is to ensure that, we enable everyone to reach their full potential. And diversity is a key focus area for us, and gender diversity is what we're talking about here. So, when we had discussions internally, we felt that, there was a need to sort of create a platform for our women colleagues, which they could then leverage to sort of reflect on their own strengths and development areas, get a greater clarity in terms of their own career aspirations and what is it that they want to do, build their skill sets, learn from each other's experience, because there's tremendous learning that exists, even if you just look at the group, learning from each other, etc. Right? And with that thought, that's when we also spoke to you that we are keen to look at this aspect. As a leadership team, when we spoke and we looked at what is it that we want this journey really to deliver or to be focused around, some of the key things that really came up were on, how do you kindle aspirations, right? How do you garner greater commitment and create that clarity on career paths for people, right? How do you get people to challenge the status quo and look at career from a long-term perspective? How to also be heard, how to, in their own teams that they work in, how to create far greater visibility of what is it that they're doing. And how do you get people to stretch and deliver in order to meet their own career aspirations, which are there, right? So those were some of the conversations that we had internally. And that's when we, of course, got into a conversation with you to see that what kind of a program design can we really look at. And that's when, if you recollect, we realized that it can't be a one-time intervention, right? So there's no magic wand, right? We need to have a longer-term perspective, because there are very many different elements that we're looking at here, right?
Correct.
You're looking at a group getting a deeper insight into what their own strengths and development areas are. You're going to look at that. You're also going to look at our framework, our competencies, and see how do they deliver, or how do they do vis-a-vis those. What are the common themes that are emerging for the group to focus on, to build further, which is there, right?
Right.
How do we also bring in an external perspective, and and that's when I think the whole thing of having women leader interactions came up, right? Of how you can also learn from others, your seniors who are there, and some of the interesting concepts, which was like group coaching, right? And of course that fantastic element of peer learning, because as a group, when you're working together and spending a significant amount of time, there's tremendous learning, and you create this comfortable environment also, where you can open up, you can share your challenges, you get feedback and advice from that peer group as well.
The whole bit that you spoke about, the peer learning and getting advice from one another, that also brings in a lot of energy within the group.
True. So I think that's where we thought of it, to structure it like a journey, which would be over a longer period of time, because this could not really be a standalone intervention, and that's when we put this the entire thing together.
What would you say are important ingredients that make learning journeys therefore impactful?
Okay. I think one of the biggest things that helps create an impact and also makes it sustainable and creates a buy-in, in fact, is that if it fits into the context of your business operations, if it fits into your organizational priorities, right? So that I think would be a key thing that helps create that buy-in and impact. Couple of other things that I can think of would be that involving your key stakeholders at the inception of a journey becomes extremely critical, because they are the ones who will also help drive it and sustain it over a period of time. And especially when you're talking about a long-term intervention like this one, right? And I think what worked in this case was also our engagement with the leadership team right from the start, from the time when we thought of the program. In fact, they were happy to share their inputs and their expectations on how they thought this could be, right? We also incorporated some of their expectations into the program design, right? I think what really helped was that walking them through, when the program design was ready, walking them through the entire journey of how it would look like, right? That played also a significant role in creating and sustaining it. Another thing that I would say is when you're able to clearly define objectives at the start and also put together how you will measure success, right? Because you need to have something tangible at the end of it to look forward to. So when you're able to articulate that, that's something also that gets buy-in and focus on what you want to do. And one more thing that I think helps in creating and sustaining is that when you look at a group and you look at people nominating themselves for a journey, the sense of ownership really grows up, manifold. It grows up manifold. So that's something also that we observed helps in driving and sustaining some of these interventions.
Fantastic. We spoke about how, in a way, HR can gauge the impact of a development journey, where you said it's important to actually state what's the criteria, how are we going to know that there is a change. Number one is if you can give us an example of where you've done that before. And secondly is what are ways in which one is able to actually identify how can a change initiative really make a difference, or really identify what is a need, and therefore how do we address this particular need?
So in this particular context, the journey that we spoke about, very clearly we saw that through this initiative, a couple of things that we want to see improving would be a higher level of engagement of the group, leading to a higher retention of talent. That was a focus area. The other also was because it was enabling them to define their career objectives, their career milestones, and that they will be working towards it. Very clearly, it implies that then they should also be, over a period of time, ready to take on larger roles or different roles as they come up, right? So that also then is a criteria for measuring success, saying that are people ready to take on larger opportunities or different opportunities to broaden their skill sets? Because sometimes it's not always about immediately taking on a larger role. It means getting the right kind of experiences, which can then help you move up and take on a larger role. And then you can clearly measure that through the number of movements, role changes, etc., that may be happening, which are relevant to meeting their career objective, right?
Very nice.
And that's a pretty concrete way of seeing that is it being successful over a period of time or not.